Welcome to a special edition of the Red Couch. I'm Steve Mullen. In for Mark Hughes Cobb is the armchair quarterback himself, Brian Reynolds. We took a look at the Nick Saban movie, Blind Side, which stars Nick Saban and other people. It's the story of Michael Oher, an Ole Miss football player who came from, a very rough childhood to, have a movie made about his life. What'd you think?
I thought it was excellent. It was an inspiring story about a young man who came up from nothing and is now making millions of dollars in the NFL. Very, very easily could have wound up, dead in a ditch somewhere in Memphis. And I feel like in the past couple of weeks, when we've been bombarded with stories of LeGarrette, I like to punch people in the face after I lose a game blunt, and New Keese, I like to rob people at pellet gun point and escape in a Prius Richardson. It's good to see an inspiring story like this of somebody who succeeded and was a genuinely good person.
Well, yeah, but doesn't really make for a good movie, and that's my problem. Is the story? It is an inspiring story, but where is the thing called conflict? The movie starts with him, meeting this, rich white people who Brangelina him in to play football for him, and I feel like we're missing the meat of it, which was how he got to that point, which we don't get a window into. But it is an inspiring story. And
it wasn't supposed to be about, how he survived as a child there. It's supposed to be about him as a football player. That's what the book was about. That's what the movie was about.
I'm sorry. I just, tend when I go see movies to want to see the interesting part. There's a little football in it, but you kind of understand that they fictionalized it a bit, because the real Michael Oher played in the public system for a year before he wound up skipping out his sophomore year and then played as a junior at Briarcrest, which is fictionalized here as Wingate.
Wingate.
So, it's not like he didn't know how to play football when he went there, but I'll say I doubt very seriously that she marched on the field and taught him how to play football.
All in all, the acting, it was mediocre. I thought Tim McGraw was good. Mm-hmm. He was good as a dad. It wasn't a major part. Sandra Bullock was good. The guy that played Michael Oher wasn't that great, but again, it's kind of hard to cast for Michael Oher. Yeah, how many people can play that part? So
I thought he did pretty well. Most of his acting is, he had to accomplish with looks, and that's hard to do, to just make a face that, emotes exactly what you want. And the one scene where he actually had a few lines, I didn't think went very well. When he, the ultimate question of the movie is, why did you do all this for me? Was it because you wanted me to go to Ole Miss? And I think they handled that part of it well, and that could have been a bigger portion of the movie, really, as opposed to watching him get a car and get all that. It just didn't really gel for me. I thought the meat was there, but it wasn't a story that was told well.
I enjoyed it. I guess the one downside for me, I didn't think that guy was a very good actor, and then I had to see the fat head of Philip Fulmer again. That was the other negative of it, but.
I think it's important, for our audience to mention that a lot of coaches are in it. You got Phil Fulmer, you got
Lou Holtz,
Nick Saban, Houston Nutt, Ed Orgeron, and who's that other guy? Some other school on the other side of the state. But they do okay. But I almost wish they had actors playing them, because it could have been a really funny scene with the recruiting montage and all that. But
I thought it was funnier having the actual coaches on there.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought Lou Holtz was very funny. And then again, he's kind of a funny guy, and when I'm not having to yell at him on game day, it's.
And I guess everyone wants to know how Nick Saban did.
Oscar. You need to go ahead and print up the ballot now.
He pretty much, you could tell it seemed like he was talking like he would normally talk.
That's how all the coaches were. I read somewhere that Philip Fulmer actually called in and was asking him for some character points. They're like, well, you're just playing yourself. Just go in and act like you would if you're recruiting this kid, just like you did when you actually went out and recruited Michael Oher. So it was a very familiar situation for all the coaches. It's not like it was, them playing a Holocaust survivor, and they're playing what they do every day and what they get paid millions of dollars to do. So.
And for the record, Nick Saban just wears like a tie. He's not like decked out in LSU gear. It kind of felt like he just switched ties on that day. He looks exactly like you would expect him to look, and behaves exactly like you would expect. So I got to give him credit for capturing the essence of what you would expect Nick Saban to do on a recruiting trip. So I think it was a light movie. You're not going to think about it much after it's over. I mean, it is an inspiring story, and you can't help but think, hey, why don't more people do that? You know, I guess
because then the NCAA would go in and investigate them.
Yeah, and money also.
But on another highlight of it, no sparkly vampires.
No sparkly vampires is always a plus. I don't know. I don't recommend it. Maybe for a rental. I can't. You know, there were pacing problems. The story was light. It was inspiring. I don't know. It just didn't do much for me, though. I'm sure the reality of it was probably much more interesting. And
I highly recommend it. I thought it was a very good movie, very enjoyable, and I feel like as a football fan, you would enjoy it.